Pokemon challenges. Those are a pretty popular thing on YouTube. So I got to thinking what challenge I could do that hadn't been done yet on YouTube, and more importantly, what unique twist I could do. Now, after much consideration, who am I kidding? You read the title of this video. Today, I'm going to be attempting to beat Pokemon Insurgence without being hit once. As for rules, well, I'm going to be honest. This is my first time ever doing something like this, so during the playthrough, rules changed a lot. If I ever do another challenge like this, I'll be sure to make a more concrete set of rules, but as this is my first challenge and I still stuck to my roots, I'll let it slide. But the rules are as follows. 1. At no point can any Pokemon be hit by a physical or special damaging move. Status moves do not count towards this, as well as weather effects not counting towards this. If my Pokemon is hit and damaged by an attacking move, I must reset my game, whether my last save is right in front of the trainer or losing hours of progress. Rule 2. Wild Pokemon do not count towards being hit. They originally did when I started this challenge, but it made the challenge more tedious than anything. Sure, I could have literally killed hundreds of thousands of Caterpies that couldn't touch me, but in the end it added really nothing to the challenge and just made my life a whole lot more hellish. Rule number 3. I'm allowed to save whenever and before each and after every trainer. Yes, there is no save states. I'm simply trying to beat each trainer in the game taking no damage. That doesn't mean I have to battle every trainer, however, I did skip a lot, I'll be honest. For the sake of simplicity and the fact that I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing, I'm probably just going to be including the major fights and the points in the game where I lose and not doing an entire narrative of the story. So, if that's not your thing, I'm sorry, but I'm just too new to this to really know what I'm doing. Like with this challenge, this is kind of my first time trying this type of video out, so this is really more just a learning experience for me as well. I still hope you can enjoy it nonetheless, though. I also want to mention that my good friend Mary joined me in this challenge for the major battles, mostly just to laugh at my suffering. Mary, if you watch this, or when you watch this, I hope at least, thank you for being there for me to watch me suffer. With all that in mind, let's see if I can beat Pokemon Insurgence without being hit once. I start my journey by picking my starter Pokemon, a Charmander I named Casper. And with that, it's finally time to battle my rival and... oh. I then proceeded to take 2 more L's to Damien before I finally beat him on my 4th attempt. It was now time to beat the first trainer in Pokemon Insurgence other than Damien, and... I'm noticing a theme here. No one else in Shade Forest really gave me any trouble other than this lady with Roselia who I lost to twice. So I finally wisened up and evolved Casper into a Charmeleon, and then I beat her no problem. With all the trainers in Shade Forest and the cave ahead cleared out, it was now time to take on the first grunt of the game. Yeah, I lost. A lot. But after some training, I was finally able to finish it. Just, ignore the fact I'm level 23 for this. Yeah, I had to do some, minor grinding. With a level 23 Delta Charmeleon, the next route really didn't provide anything that was risky to me, so I proceeded to the next town where I would catch a Shuckle that I never proceeded to use. The era of easy battles sadly came to an end, however, as I encountered a Scientist and a Magnemite, and, yeah, it didn't end well for me. So I just decided to skip her and move on. I finally reached the end of the cave and found Nora, who I was sent to go find so we could begin a dang tournament and start another hellhole where I might get damaged and have to reset and do the whole thing over again. But yeah, that's for now. For now, I just found her and told her to get the fuck back to the gym. Or, well, not the gym. Yeah, you know what I mean. It was finally time for a little miniature tournament between Nora, Damien, and, I don't know, the kids. They didn't matter. They lost. Point is, I beat up the first kid whose name was Kyle. I could pull up the video right now, but I literally just don't care enough to learn what his name is. But after that, I beat up Damien because he was an idiot and decided to throw the match. And then I proceeded to beat up Nora. And then, as a reward, I got the TM for Return, which is a move that was very, very useful to me, let me tell ya. After defeating Nora, I now had access to the next route, where I proceeded to catch a Buizel that I immediately got rid of because it sucked and I caught a new one. This route was actually providing me difficulties unlike the last couple of routes, where I proceeded to lose with Casper, and Buzzleb also proceeded to lose his first battle as well. So like any good movie sensei, I trained Buzzbleb up until he's strong enough to wreak vengeance upon those who wronged him. Next on the agenda was deleting some grunts off the face of the earth for the grave sin of daring to challenge one of my favorite Pokemon. And then it was time for the return. The return of my fucking boy. You know him, you love it. His name is Rush, baby. He's here. After getting revenge on those who wronged me, I entered the cave to get to Suntouch City, and didn't encounter any problems until I encountered this old man, who I then promptly beat again. Finally, I had reached Suntouch Gym, where my first challenge would be Orion, the fire and grass type gym leader? I don't know, it's kinda hard to tell. Even on easy mode, Orion's team is very, very difficult for a player who is not very prepared. Unfortunately for Orion, I am prepared. And by prepared, I mean a level 34 max friendship floater with return and Aqua Jet. It was finally time for my first gym battle, and well, it went about as well as you would expect. And just like that, I had gotten the first badge of Pokemon Insurgence without taking any damage. 1 down, 7 to go. And then I proceeded to immediately get hit in the very next battle I participated in. So to combat this, I evolved Rush into a Lucario, and I proceeded to lose anyways. I made it through the rest of the route without a problem, and skipping over a couple trainers that I know had Sturdy on their Pokemon, and that meant the next big fight was Nora, who, I'm gonna be honest, she could have easily won. She didn't throw the fight not just once, but twice. None of the trainers on the following route gave me any sort of trouble, so that meant it was already time for my next gym battle. And that meant my foe was Xavier, the bug and poison type gym leader. And despite being only the second gym leader in the region, he was by far the most terrifying gym leader and the biggest threat to this run. And this fucker was the reason why. Even in the normal and hard modes of the game, his Shuckle is little more than a minor annoyance until you take on the rest of his team. But for the purpose of a no-hit run, being hit once means a game over, and he has a move that can end that run very easily. Here I could just keep resetting my game until he uses a move that doesn't affect the challenge, but where's the fun in that? That kind of defeats the entire purpose. So I thought to myself for a while how I could get past this, and I finally settled on Mold Breaker, an ability that bypasses other abilities, which would aka bypass Sturdy. So I started looking at Mold Breaker Pokemon that were in my area, and there weren't any. Except for one. Back in the caves of Suntouch City, there was a Pancham I could find that had a 1% chance encounter rate. So I spent about 2 hours looking for this little fucker, and keep in mind I had speed up on the entire time and it still took me that long. So I finally caught one, forced it to live through the daycare trauma to get a positive nature, and running some damage calculators, I learned I had to level up to level 53 to be able to one-shot the Shuckle. Leveling it up was about as fun as it sounds as it was. So, with my beefed up Dragon Warrior, it was now finally time to take on Xavier. And even with the knowledge that I can and would KO everything on his team, there was still a slight little thing that was worrying me. But I chose to believe in Poe, and he did not let me down. After that, the rest of his team was fairly easy to take care of, and just like that, the second badge was mine. After defeating Xavier, I had to go and rescue Dame from some Abyssal cultists, which none of them gave me any trouble except for this one with a skunk tank, which I quickly defeated. After clearing out all the grunts, I was faced with an actually scary battle. A double battle. But the only Pokemon they had was a Starmie that would rather confuse me than damage me, and since self-confusing damage does not count towards the challenge, I won pretty easily. Absolutely nothing noteworthy happened, and before I knew it, I was in Resi Desert. Resi? I don't know. It's a desert. There's sand everywhere, it's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. Also, I witnessed a murder. It was finally time for a rival rematch with Damien, and it was going well until... So I just grinded a few more levels and beat him no problem. After that, the only thing between me and Helios was a man who had a Smeargle with a Focus Sash on him, but he could be skipped, so I unfortunately just had to take that L and move on. The next big fight was against Tane, a member of the Perfection Cult. But I grabbed a Life Orb in Hilo City and slapped it on Rush, so he really wasn't a threat. It was now time to battle East, the third gym leader and secret Sky Cult member. Honestly, I had no plan for this one. It was basically just nuke him with my new Mega Pokemon. Oh, and would you look at that, I won. Next up on the boss column was Jern, who proved to be no trouble at all due to this being easy mode and him not having his Mega Rayquaza. It was already time for another rival fight, and this time I got the option to pick between Nora and Damien, and I chose Damien because he's easier. After some minor plot stuff, I went ahead and cleared the next route until I encountered this Ampharos who only beat me because of RNG. I then beat them better. It was time to take a break from blasting through gyms to put a stop to whatever Audrey and her Abyssal Colt were planning now. And I proceeded to lose to the same grunt 2 times in a row, 1 because of priority, 2 because I wasn't strong enough to KO it. Until I was finally able to get past that damn Greninja. Promote that man. I mean seriously, I struggled more with the grunt than I actually struggled with Audrey. The next gym was a normal fairy type gym. So what better Pokemon to take it on than a dragon type? It actually went pretty well all things considered until I decided to stay in on the last Pokemon to do a funny. And it failed. So like an insane man not learning from his mistakes, I did it again, except this time I had Rush get the final KO. And just like that, I had gotten the 4th badge. With the 4th gym badge collected, I decided to celebrate by purging those who had wronged me in the past with the help of a new friend. After that quick and very necessary detour, it was already time to go up against Audrey again, and this time to put a stop to her for good. Audrey for some reason thought it'd be a good idea to fire the grunt with a Greninja, so this time I had absolutely no trouble with the grunts while trying to get to her. Also, I just want to say I know I haven't been showing off the gym leader teams and cult leader teams recently, but like, that's just because they literally haven't even been a threat to me. Like, Orion and Xavier were both mild threats to me at least, like with the Shuckle and just the beginning, but like, now that I actually have a decked out team, like, they're pretty much just nothing to me at this point. It'll get better later on, just trust me on that. So needless to say, I won this fight as well. Anastasia's gym was actually kind of scary just because it was steel and electric type and pretty much everything had levitate, but luckily you could just skip it, so that's what I did. Well, you know, other than the trainer that I'm fighting right now, I couldn't skip them, but that gives me perfect timing over the gym leader. Because remember how 15 seconds ago I said I would start showing the gym leader teams once they got more difficult? Well yeah, now they're getting more difficult. Anastasia's team immediately presented the problem of a Prankster Klefki, a Magnezone with Air Balloon, a Levitating Rotom Wash, an Aegislash, and a Mega Metagross. But honestly, the 2 I was the most worried about was the Aegislash and the Metagross, as they had priority moves. I actually thankfully did have an answer for this though. Well, at least the Aegislash, as I had a Delta Ambipom at the time, which the Aegislash literally can't touch due to its typing. The Delta Ambipom was also going to be somewhat my answer to the Metagross. My plan was to get a substitute up, so that way in case it bullet punched, it just hit the substitute. However, going into the fight, I forgot to put substitute on it, so I had to work around that. I started out with Excadrill, putting a substitute up and Swords Dancing so I'd hopefully be able to sweep through the majority of her team before Aegislash and Metagross, where I would then switch to Ambipom. I was able to get 2 Swords Dances in before the Klefki started a foul play, and because of my raised attack, it started instantly destroying my substitutes, so I was forced to go on the offensive. I easily knocked out the Klefki, and then for some reason, Anastasia decided to go in right into a Mega Ace, her Metagross, which entirely threw my plans into the trash can. Thankfully, her Metagross didn't go for Bullet Punch, so Excadrill was able to outspeed and instantly take it out. Her Aegislash was next, so I sent out Baguette, my Ambipom, to face it and set up on it. And that's when I realized I didn't have a substitute on it. Well, in the game at least, I already said it in the video. So switching to plan B, I just started to set up workup after workup until Anastasia got smart and switched out. But by then it was too late, and I easily KO'd all of her Pokemon until it was just Aegislash left. Where I then proceeded to flex on the poor thing that couldn't even touch me by setting up the remainder of my workups and then one-shotting it. For once, I actually had to work for this badge. With Anastasia beaten, it was time for another battle against Tane. He swore payback on me for humiliating him back in Helios City. That this time, he would not be defeated. Moving on to trainers that were actually able to do something against me, in what I can only consider to be a retaliation from Arceus from insulting the Pokeball, I got by a Meowstic that used Sucker Punch. So I was more than happy to show that lady that God is nothing to a Haxorus that has set up 6 Dragon Dances. And next up on the chopping block is Zenith, who, just like Tane, is barely worth talking about at all. Hey, if I gotta say at least one nice thing about it, at least the theme slaps. At this point, it's pretty clear that the game is just throwing cult leader after cult leader at me because now I have to fight Persephone. So now it's my job to beat her while her gym leader sister stands in the background, and keep in mind Persephone just threatened my life in front of her. Great job there. The battle is going well until I forget that Excadrill does not have Mold Breaker as its ability, and I try to use Earthquake on a Gengar with Levitate. Attempt number 2 thankfully goes a lot easier, and it also certainly helps that during this attempt I was not being a dumb fuck. The 6th gym was honestly more emotional for me than anything because this was Casper's last main battle. I was getting to a point in the story where Casper's nature, which was negative speed, was starting to be a more hindrance than anything. Not to mention I was getting access to more powerful Mega Stones, though it only felt right to give my starter Pokemon the send-off of the hero it deserved. I've normally just been showing you all the Pokemon fading, but for this, I'll show you a sped-up version of the battle, so sit back and enjoy. At this point, we're thrust into another battle with Tane, and come on, at this point, we know how it's going to go, so come on, Tane, send out your Pokemon and... Oh no. Yep, that's right, the 3rd battle with Tane is a double battle. One that I very quickly lose. Congrats, Tane, you got 1 win, buddy. To my absolute surprise, I actually won the 2nd time. I was honestly expecting to be stuck on the double battle for a lot longer, but I won thanks to predicting what moves Tane would use on who, as well as taking out the threats that were targeting me, as well as some support from Casper, which technically makes this his real final battle, I guess. But yes, all that, as well as some little luck, I was able to get past the double battle, which thankfully is the last one in the game. I don't want to have to do another double battle. After some more boring plot stuff, we're finally ready to get back to what you came here to see. To see me suffer in Pokemon Insurgence as I try to frantically not let any of my Pokemon get hit. And just like that, a trainer I skipped trying to get to Ampharite City ambushed me while I was looking for something, and yeah, I suffered the consequences. What this scientist didn't know was that she was messing with the protagonist, who quickly put her in her place. After even more plot stuff, it was finally time to take on the 7th gym leader, and other than a Kabutops with Aqua Jet, he really had nothing that scared me. To make a long story short, I had Circles sweep him with the help of my new Smeargle, Pootus. Who knew that Shell Smash plus Subzu was a very nice combination when you don't want to get hit? And just like that, the 7th badge was mine. We seriously can't go more than a few minutes without talking about this guy because the Von Karma wannabe is already back for round 4. And with this being a single battle, I think we all know how this one ends. So let's just skip this one and get to some actually interesting fights. On the plus side though, this is the last time I do fight him. With the Abyssal Cult dealt with as well as Perfection Cult kinda dealt with, it's now time to take down Zenith and his cult. But like that one computer update that happens when you're about to do something, who else shows up but Persephone to fuck it all up? Zenith, however, didn't design his prisons to be able to contain a protagonist, which in my eyes is a complete oversight, so naturally I broke out and chased him down to fight him. I led with Pootus to get a Spore and a Shell Smash, and yeah, I think we all know where this is going at this point.
Ocean man, take me by the hand, lead me to the land that you understand. Ocean man, the voyage to the corner of the globe is a real trip. Ocean man, the crust of a tan man and by the sand, soaking up the thirst of the land. Ocean man.
With that, I have officially taken down the Infernal and Abyssal Cults. There's not much more that can stand in my way of... You've gotta be kidding me. I don't even have a vengeance joke or anything, I just want to know why a level 76 Helioisk knew Quick Attack. I'm just adding this part in very quickly just because I realized I forgot after I finished the main portion of this part of the video, but I also lost to this person who used Sucker Punch, so yeah, I beat them badly though. Like a shopping list that I'm checking off as I take them out one by one, next up is Persephone's Darkrai Cult, which I do not care enough to look up the name of. Unfortunately, Damien and Mauled show up to fuck everything up like the virus fucked up their bodies. And by doing so, we all get sent into my dream world, which I still have no idea how I can enter my own dream world. I don't know how that works. But it's Pokemon, who cares? With the entirety of the Darkrai Cult now taken out, Persephone comes in with everything she has for one final showdown, and I return the favor by ending her entire career. My next opponent was Damien, who had finally moved up enough in the world to get his own unique theme. That didn't stop me from absolutely demolishing him though. I'm sorry, Damien, but the only win you're ever gonna get against me was the win you got in that cavern. It all come down to this. Victory lay right before my eyes. The final gym leader, who also turned out to be my father. I won't even lie, my biggest motivation for not losing this wasn't even resetting the battle. It was just so I wouldn't have to go through the long-ass cutscene that was right before the battle. Seriously, that shit went on for like 2 minutes. I don't got that kind of time. But Circles pulled through with a Dragon Dancing substitute up. He cleaved through all of Adam's team, giving me the win. And the final badge. However, as Billy Mays once famously didn't say, but wait, there's more. It was now time to take on the true baddies of the game, the Giratina cult, and their leader. After they exposed Augur June on Twitter, they told me to come to the Crystal Caves, where I would have their final showdown with their leader, Nyx. Also, Nora went and got herself kidnapped, so that was fun for me. Since he was so salty about being cancelled, Augur June decided to tear me apart himself. Yeah, because that went so well before. He probably had no idea that I had literally torn apart every other cult without being hit. And he was about to be torn apart as well. At this point, the Sky Cult is just going to be another written name on my resume of cults I have taken down. None of the priority moves on his team scared me anymore, since I knew I could just Spore and Shell Smash and win. And lo and behold, that's exactly what I did. Back in the Dream World, I had acquired a Bisharp Bite, and if you don't know what Mega Bisharp's ability is, it's Moxie. A base 105 speed Pokemon with Moxie. The moment I pressed Z on my keyboard, it wasn't a fight anymore. It was a slaughter. A slaughter I very much enjoyed. Suck on that, you edgy anti-hero asshole. As much as I would love to cut right to Nyx, I unfortunately did take a few losses, and I'm going to be showing those here now. The first was this cultist with an Electro that somehow outsped my Metagross despite being 30 levels lower and non-Mega Evolved. Like, I know Metagross are slow, but come on, it was a Mega Metagross. Those things aren't slow. That error was quickly resolved, however. Can't move fast if you're dead. I won't even lie, my exact words before fighting this cultist were, what are the chances that the Ditto they have is an imposter Ditto? It was an imposter Ditto. What followed is probably one of the stupidest fights I've had in this game, where I had to send out Pooches because he was my only Pokemon with non-damaging moves, but in doing so, I gave my opponent a free setup Smeargle. Let's talk about Nyx and her team for a moment, shall we? On the surface, it doesn't seem like anything overly impressive, just like a normal team, until you find out the gimmick that goes along with her fight. You see, for this battle, all the type matchups are inversed. Grass is super effective against fire. Fire is super effective against water. Water is super effective against grass, and vice versa. The same goes for immunities. Suddenly electric is super effective against ground, while ground can't touch electric. Basically, we're going by the anime rules now. Still, it wasn't worrying me too much, although I did want to watch out for that Kangaskhan fake out. But that was about it. Yeah, remember how I said I wasn't overly too worried about her team? Yeah, I meant I wasn't worried at all. I didn't even bother leading with Pootis, I just went right into Shoif. It was time for a battle that would decide the fate of 2 universes. A battle of epic and grand proportion. A battle where the loser's people will be shunned and forgotten in darkness for all eternity. Truly, this was a match where neither could afford to lose. Well, to be fair, I was fighting for the safety of our universe. With Nyx defeated, she fucked right back off to wherever she came from, which I can only presume to be the Shadow Realm or Brazil. Let's talk about the Elite Four for a second. Now, through most of the game, I've just blitzed through battles with Pokemon usually 30 levels higher than the opposing trainers. But the Elite Four is built different. Instead of focusing on a type like most Elite Fours do, they focus instead on a theme. Those themes being Baton Pass, Sandstorm, Hail, and Trick Room. In addition to that, they have well-crafted teams that are able to support their weaknesses. But all of that wouldn't matter if I was just able to level myself 40 levels above them and blitz through them. But no, it gets worse. In Pokemon Insurgence, the Elite Four, as well as the Champion, will automatically level themselves to your highest level Pokemon in your party. Meaning no matter how much grinding you do, they will always be as strong as your strongest Pokemon. So yeah, the main advantage that has basically carried me through the entire game is now gone. With that enlightening and disheartening info, let's now go over each Elite Four member. First up we have Kayla, the Baton Pass Elite Four member. Now in easy mode for Pokemon Insurgents, most trainers don't have held items for their Pokemon, other than perhaps a Mega Ace. Yeah, well, Kayla didn't get the memo. Every single one of her Pokemon has a held item. And another fun fact about Kayla is that her team doesn't change whether you're on easy, normal, or hard mode. Her Smeargle, Blaziken, and Sneasel were the biggest concerns for me. Smeargle having Moody and Sport, Blaziken having Speed Boost, as well as a Focus Sash on both of them, and Caesar having Bullet Punch. I'll be honest, the rest of her team was kinda just there for vibes. Next up is Edard. My personal favorite Elite Four member and probably my favorite character in all of Pokemon Insurgence. He has some Pokemon with abilities that could give me trouble in the sand, but as long as I stall at Hippowdon Sandstream, I should be fine. Other than that, all I really have to watch out for is Sucker Punch on his Mega Cacturn. There's really not much more to say until the actual battle begins. That brings us to the third Elite Four member, Yuki, who in my original playthrough of Pokemon Insurgence gave me hell. This time, however, she was actually the Elite Four member I was the least worried about. Let's just say I had my reasons for not fearing her overly that much. That brings us to the last Elite Four member, and the one I feared the most, London. Right off the bat, a quick glance at his team reveals a Togekiss with Extreme Speed, a Sneasel with Bullet Punch, and a Marowak with Shadow Sneak. But honestly, those are mere annoyances compared to the real biggest problem with his team, that damn Reuniclus. If you don't play Pokemon Insurgence, I would completely understand why you don't see this Pokemon as much of a threat. But in truth, this Pokemon is probably the most dangerous thing I will ever face in this run, as when it Mega Evolves, it automatically sets up Trick Room. And there is nothing I can do to stop it. And I don't think I need to explain how bad Trick Room is in a challenge where I have to go first before the other Pokemon so I don't get hit by them. I probably spent hours going over this Reuniclus trying to think of how to outstall Trick Room. Ideas I had was getting my own Reuniclus to use Imprison on it so it couldn't use Psychic and Shadow Ball, as well as swapping between a normal and dark type Pokemon to continuously bait out Psychic and Shadow Ball. In the end, however, I went with something else, which you'll see in a moment now, as it's finally time to take on the Pokemon League. It was decided I would battle London first, the trainer I feared the most, just to get them out of the way. And that's when I put my plan into action. I had caught, bred, and Eevee and Ivy trainer Zoroark, for the sole purpose of taking down London, using illusion to make it think I was Putus. It went pretty well at first. Unfortunately, I underestimated how smart the AI was, and I unfortunately took my first loss against the Elite Four. This time went a lot better. Not only was I able to get my substitute up, I also got a nasty plot up and was able to just substitute spam until the Trick Room ended. At that point, I took out the Reuniclus and was ready for the next Pokemon. I was worried he might swap in one of his Pokemon with priority moves, but thankfully he went for his Conkeldurr, which the real Putus was able to set up on. After that, I merely baton passed to Shoif and swept through the rest of his team. The only notable thing I have to say about Yuki is that I was praying her Mamoswine didn't use Ice Shard. That's it. That's really just it. I won. Next up was Anakin Skywalker's worst nightmare, Edard, the Sandstorm member of the Elite Four. I'll admit, out of all the Elite Four members, Edard gave me the most trouble out of all of them. It wasn't hard, it was just very, very tedious. Not only was there sandstorm damage, negating my leftovers recovery, but every time I set up a substitute, his Hippowdon would wake up. Seriously, it never let me get up a Shell Smash. And for the few rare times it actually decided to stay asleep for an extra turn, I would usually have to spend those turns healing or restoring PP, only for it to wake right back up and begin the whole process over again. The footage you're watching right now is literally sped up 1000%. Finally, Hippowdon decided it was just as tired as his bullshit as I was and decided to sleep for an extra turn. That gave me the chance to baton pass to Spider. Unsurprisingly, after that, the battle didn't go very well for our dear friends. With the attack and speed boost, along with Edard having steel and grass type Pokemon, Spider could deal with this team pretty easily. Just kidding, the Hippowdon survived and used Yawn, which forced me to go back into Smeargle while Edard spent a turn healing to begin the whole cycle over again. This time, however, it seemed the Hippowdon was a lot more willing to stay asleep, so I was able to set up and baton pass to Spider again. And like I said before, his team really didn't stand a chance against Spider. Not even the Rotom was safe because Delta Mega Metagross has Mold Breaker as its ability. After that, it was simply a matter of praying Cacturne didn't use Sucker Punch and absolutely ruin my day. But Cacturne must have seen what Hippowdon did to me and took pity because for whatever reason, he did not use Sucker Punch. And after one more Earthquake, I finally won. It was finally time to battle the last Elite Four member, Kayla. She sent out her Smeargle, and to assert dominance and superiority, I sent out my own Smeargle. I used Substitute, correctly predicting a Spore, and then I used Spore myself, putting her own Smeargle to sleep. Take that, Kayla, that's how it feels! Moody, however, was a big problem. Even if it was asleep, it could still set up, so I had to get my own boost quickly. I got myself to ×3 on everything, and then for some reason when Kayla's Smeargle woke up, it decided to use Spore on a Substitute. Maybe I spoke too soon about the AI being smart. I quickly put it back to sleep and then passed all my stat boosts to Shoif, who was greeted with a Smeargle trying to use Spore on a Substitute. Again. I Mega Evolved and took care of the Focus Sash, and now I'm pretty sure this Smeargle is having an existential crisis that I can't put my Pokemon to sleep. I finished the Smeargle off and next up was the Cecil, which thankfully I had Sucker Punch, so Bullet Punch wasn't a problem here. Although I actually predicted Kayla would use a Seta move, so I actually used Night Slash, and my gamble paid off. With Max Attack, her Mega Slowbro fell in one hit, that's it. Like I said, just here for vibes. And immediately next was the only Pokemon I actually feared left on her team, the Blaziken. I took care of the Focus Sash, but it hit me in retaliation, getting rid of my Substitute. I still massively outsped it though, so I took care of it. With that, all that was left was an Espeon that literally could not hit me, and a Sylveon I instantly knocked out. I had beaten the Elite Four. My final challenge, my final foe, Champion Rukra, leader of the Perfection Cult. I had come this far already. I wasn't going to back down now. In terms of priority, Rukra had nothing, so theoretically, this would be an even easier match than some of the Elite Four matches. I went into this with the same plan I had for Edward, stall out the Sandstorm. With that, it was finally time to begin the final battle. Rukra decided to immediately show me he meant business by taking a page out of Edward's book and getting 4 turn 2 wake-ups in a row, where finally, on literally the last chance I had, he decided to stay asleep for an extra turn, which I had to immediately heal off of. Oh, and then he proceeded to immediately wake up after that, starting the entire process over again. This seem familiar yet? Thankfully, next time I used Substitute, it actually bothered to stay asleep, so I was finally able to start to set up on it. Now, I could have swept Rukra just using Shell Smash once, but no, this was the final battle. I was going all in. It took a little while, as well as some healing, but I finally got my stats to max. And finally, I was ready to baton pass. But who would I baton pass to? That was the question. But that question only had one real obvious answer. Rush had pretty much become the mascot of the run. Despite not being EV or IV trained or even having a beneficial nature, he was still there for everything, helping out when he could. So it was only fitting that he finished it. Like another run he finished so long ago. And with the necessary stat boosts and the cheers of me and Mary, nothing could stop him. Not even his Mega Flygon or Shadow Mewtwo could do anything about it. Rukra had wanted to find perfection, and well, he found it. And just like that, we are already to his last Pokemon, the final hurdle to becoming the champion and winning this challenge. I had finally done it. I became Pokemon Champion and beat Pokemon Insurgence without being hit once. As I finished this challenge, I was at a genuine loss for words that I actually beat this challenge that seemed so daunting and impossible at first. And even now as I edit this video, I still don't know fully what to say. I guess I should start by thanking people. First, I want to thank my friend Mary, who was with me through a lot of the major battles. Secondly, I want to thank my Pokemon, who truly were the MVPs of this challenge. I hold them all close to my heart. And finally, I want to thank all of you for watching this video and making it this far. It really means a lot to me. I know this isn't normally what I do on my channel, but if you would like to see more of this type of content, please like and comment to let me know. It really does help support the channel as well. And also, why not subscribe? I'm on the road to 1K subscribers right now. You can join me and help me with that. But back to the challenge, this really was one heck of a way to start off 2022. probably my biggest video yet. And if enough people want more of this, I'll do the post-game as well without getting hit. But for now, this is the Mago301 signing off. Until next time.